Danielle Harris posted this on her Instagram, so she's got a sense of humor. This was funny. It says, "Hey guys, it's your sis Karen." And then Laurie Strode says, "Who the hell is Karen?" And then John Tate says, "Forget Karen. Who are you?" And then, of course, Laurie Strode drinking. See, they should have had all three of them in the movie. It would have made sense. It would have been perfect. Okay. All right, let's go to our first news story. I got a lot of funnies tonight, too, so hopefully we can get to them. We'll cut through this news real quick, all right? The next Halloween trilogy should redeem the Jamie Lloyd story. If you remember, a few DDLives ago, I talked about a lost script or something like that, where called Halloween Bad Blood, that had Jamie Lloyd in it, and she was, it was years after Halloween. I think it was after Halloween 5, because obviously she died in 6, so it took place some years after Halloween 5. She was an adult, and she was battle scarred, and she was on the run from Myers, and you could come up with so many different storylines out of the Halloween franchise, but it was worth a read. There was some potential there. But with the success of Halloween Kills, and it is a success, I think. It's made over $100 million now. This movie cost $20 million, I think. So, Ends is definitely coming. They're starting to shoot that beginning of next year. Even if Ends doesn't do that well, which I think it will, but even if it doesn't, I think they've made enough money that they're like, okay, we have to continue. It's pretty much confirmed, right, at this point, that they are continuing after Ends in some direction or not. We just don't know what that direction's going to be. So this is something, and I was searching through my DMs today because a couple of you guys sent me this story, and for some reason I could not find the person that sent me this story, or one of the people that sent me this story. So if you sent me this story, shoot me a DM, let me know, because I don't like not giving people credit. But I definitely wanted to talk about this, all right? Because this is the future of the franchise. I think Jamie Lloyd has a cult following. She has enough of a following to kind of, I guess, raise a stink. That's a bad way to put it. But, just cause a little bit of commotion. I guess that evil dies tonight. Jamie Lloyd, needs to return to the franchise, right? And I'm a Jamie Lloyd fan, but I can tell you right now, there's no way this is going to happen for a couple reasons. But we'll read it first. We'll entertain it first. And then I'll give you a couple reasons why there's no way this is going to happen. And if it does, I'll be happy. And I love being proven wrong sometimes. If it happens, it happens. And hey, I'll rejoice, but it's not going to happen. But anyway, yeah, let's read it. Okay, let me go over here. Okay, the next Halloween trilogy should redeem the Jamie Lloyd story. With Halloween Ends ending the Laurie Strode saga, a new trilogy should bring Jamie Lloyd back and give her the story she deserves. I do think she deserves it, another crack at it as the character Jamie Lloyd. And let me ask you guys this. Do you think it's kind of weird that Danielle Harris has never met Jamie Lee Curtis? And you know what? There might be nothing to that, but I've always wondered about that. Like, this is a person that played the daughter of the main character in arguably one of the most popular horror franchises out there. There's conventions every single year for the Halloween franchise. Yes, Jamie Lee Curtis does not do conventions. She's done a handful of them, maybe one, maybe two. The Night She Came Home, that documentary, that's about her doing one for charity, which is great. But it is weird to me that not only has Jamie Lee Curtis never met Danielle Harris, and correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I think I read that somewhere, that she's never met her. But also, it's kind of weird that she's had not one, but two other children in the franchise in different timelines, in different continuities, And I think an easier route that they could have taken. I'll get that super chat in just a second, Happy Sanjo. I think an easier route that they probably could have taken was just go ahead and make Jamie Lloyd a part of Halloween 2018. That would have like pleased multiple sets of fans, you know? And it would have created more possibilities because you already had this backstory with Jamie Lloyd. Even though the backstory doesn't exist in Halloween 2018, it's still there in our minds. We still have that. You know, when we watch it on the screen, this relationship between Jamie and her mother, Laurie Strode, even though that doesn't exist, it would for us. You know what I mean? You know what I'm trying to say? We would still have those kind of chill bumps about just the situation. And I've said this before. Just the thought of seeing Jamie Lloyd in the same frame as Laurie Strode, it really sends chills up my spine. Just because of the conversation that those two characters could have. Why did you leave me? You know? Just all these different questions could come about. And so, you know, I always say, I guess you could say, I'm being upfront here. Yes, I do give Laurie Strode a hard time. I do give Laurie Strode a hard time all the time. And I think that's because I'm such a Jamie Lloyd fan. And because that exchange never happened. And it always kind of irked me. You know? It's not that I don't want Laurie Strode to exist. I just want both characters to exist, you know? Is that so hard? That's what drives me crazy about it. You know, I could go on a bitch fest for ages about that. And for some reason, when I look around the interwebs, I don't see other people feeling the same way. I'm sure there are other people, but I think, is it just me? Am I on an island here? Because I'm such a fan, and maybe that's because I'm such a fan of 4, 5, and 6, you know? I'm so invested in those characters. I actually prefer Jamie Lloyd and Rachel Carruthers over Laurie Strode, you know? I do. And so I'm not trying to push Laurie Strode away. Bring her back into the fold. But man, just when I heard that her daughter was going to be Karen, you know, first off, why even give her a daughter if you're going to give her a different name? You know, just, oh my God, I could just go on a bitch fest forever about this. George Heilman says, in my mind, Laurie left Jamie before she wanted to protect her from both Michael and her own trauma madness, to let her have a relatively normal life. A bit weak, but may work. Yeah, I mean, the thought of and you know, it's funny you say that because my wife was literally just talking about what a parent will do for a child. And if you're not a parent, then you don't really understand. But the thought of leaving a child, you know, Laurie Strode leaving Jamie Lloyd, that alone is like, that's tough. But is it believable? Yeah, it could definitely happen. And if it's for the reason of to protect her, yeah, I can buy that. I can buy that because if it means she's going to die, then yeah, which is kind of a plot point in Halloween 2018. She literally does say, you know what, you can hate me all you want, but hey, at least you're safe, you know? So I buy that about the character. Finding out that your daughter is on the run from Myers, I think that would provide the ultimate opportunity for Laurie Strode to come into the fold, maybe even at the end of a certain movie, you know, to kind of save the day. I mean, I think, and it would please everybody, you know, it would please fans of Laurie Strode, and it would definitely please fans of Jamie Lloyd. So, yeah, I get passionate about this shit because I want to entertain this. Okay? If the Halloween franchise is to continue after Halloween ends with a new trilogy, it should redeem the story of Jamie Lloyd, Laurie Strode's daughter in the original sequels. The 80s saw the birth of some of the most popular franchises in the horror genre, among those, Halloween. It all began in 1978 with John Carpenter's Halloween, which even though wasn't a well-received during its initial release, has now become one of the most influential horror movies. I hate how these articles they pad because they have to have a certain number of words or something. And so you got to read all this stuff that we already know. We already read that. Okay, here we go. Jamie Lloyd was Michael Myers' target in Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers, and Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers. During the first minutes of Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers. After the latter, the franchise was retconned again, and Laurie was brought back in Halloween H2O, and Jamie Lloyd was erased from this timeline. Laurie was given a son, John Tate. And I like John Tate, by the way, guys. Big John Tate fan. All right? Yeah. And Jamie Lloyd's story became one of the most frustrating ones in the Halloween franchise. And I think the reason it was frustrating is because of how well received the character was. If this was a character that was just kind of thrown away or just kind of there and didn't really make a mark, nobody would care, you know, and people would just kind of discard those movies. But there are legit big time Jamie Lloyd fans out there. There really are. So I think that's why we still have people like me, you know, going to the top of a mountain and screaming "Evil dies tonight" for Jamie Lloyd. Okay? Yeah. But that could be fixed with another reboot trilogy in the Halloween universe. Between Halloween 2 and Halloween 4, Laurie Strode and her husband were killed in a car accident, leaving their daughter, Jamie Lloyd, orphaned. Jamie was later adopted by the Carruthers family, who were close to Laurie as she used to babysit their daughter, Rachel, Ellie Cornell. Jamie was unaware of her connection to the boogeyman, who she saw in nightmares, but she later learned that he was her uncle. Michael, who had been in a coma, awoke and escaped to hunt down his relatives one more time. And so Jamie became his new target. With the help of Rachel and Dr. Loomis, Jamie survived, but when she approached an unconscious Michael and touched his hand, a connection between them was ignited. By the end of Halloween 4, Jamie, still in her clown costume, stabbed her foster mother, though not fatally, as she was under the influence of Michael. Gonna break right here. Halloween 4, this ties into the point that I was just making about why the character is still very relevant. Because Halloween 4 arguably is one of the best sequels of the franchise. It still sits at number 2 in my franchise ranking. And I don't think it'll ever leave. Halloween 4 is that great. It's that important to me. And it solidified Jamie Lloyd as a great character, even though she was this kid. You know, and it's hard for a kid to, I guess, to make a stamp like that, you know? So yeah, Halloween 4 was big. It made Jamie Lloyd big. Let's press on. Let's press on. Oh yeah, and there's one more thing I wanted to say about that too. The end of Halloween 4, when it's revealed that it's Jamie Lloyd that stabbed her stepmother. I don't think she actually killed her. That was such a shocking ending. That is a good reason to leap off of Halloween 4 and discard 5 and 6. I think 4 is the best bet for that. As a matter of fact, I'll pose that question to you guys. If they were to leap off of 4, 5, and 6, which one should it be? Should it be 4, or should it be 5, or should it be 6? Pressing on. Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers, set a year later, is severely traumatized. Jamie was living in the Haddonfield Children's Clinic just like Michael after he killed his sister. They're pretty much giving us a recap of everything. I'm not going to read all that. Let me go down. Let's get down to the meat, guys. All right, let's get down to the meat. Laurie Strode is the final girl in the Halloween franchise, but her now forgotten daughter is the most underrated hero. Even though she was just 8 years old in Halloween 4, Jamie had as much bravery as any other final girl in horror. And on top of that, she was a very likable character. Jamie was an outsider from the beginning, and with her parents dead, her not feeling loved by her new family, even though she was, kids at school making fun of her for being the niece of the boogeyman, and her many nightmares of a scary man she had never even known. In addition to that, Danielle Harris's performance made the character one to root for, and she was a perfect balance of innocence and bravery. And even though she was young, she fought for her life like any other adult character in the franchise. Damn right. Jamie Lloyd is also the character in the franchise that has been mistreated the most. It seems like the writers forgot that Jamie was a child and she had to deal with a lot of trauma even before Michael Myers woke up. And she suffered even more than Laurie has in the whole franchise. Jamie's end in Halloween 6 did no justice to the character. I agree with that for sure. And the whole artificial insemination part of it was disgusting and disrespectful, which that was not in the theatrical cut, if I'm being fair. And she could have had a second chance had a Halloween H2O not rewritten the timeline again, replacing her with John Tate. Jamie was once again left aside in the reboot trilogy, which instead gave Laurie a new family with her daughter Karen and granddaughter Allison. how a new Halloween series could bring Jamie back. Okay, here we go. Now you have my attention. Okay. The Halloween franchise hasn't been the most consistent, going through different retcons, including the remakes of Rob Zombie, and thus creating different timelines. But this can play to the franchise's and Jamie Lloyd's favor. The current reboot trilogy serves as a direct continuation to Carpenter's original film, ignoring all movies that came after it, so the timeline could be reset again if the writers ever decide to do so. Halloween Ends is set to end the Laurie Strode saga, but the franchise can continue its course with a new reboot trilogy, only this time continuing the events of Halloween 4. So there we go. So they think Halloween 4. Through this, Halloween can bring back and redeem Jamie Lloyd's story, ignoring everything that happened in Halloween 5 and 6, and giving her the story and ending she deserves as a heroine and final girl of the franchise, especially after the twist ending in Halloween 4 where she became the killer, and not by choice or will. The future of the Halloween franchise beyond Halloween Ends is unknown, but in the era of reboots and more, and with the continuity not being an important element in the universe, there can be more movies that continue previous storylines that weren't handled correctly. Okay, I'm sorry. I know that was a lot of reading, but we got through it. Now, let me tell you why. I'll tell you two reasons why this won't happen. I'll tell you one reason why there's a possibility that it maybe could. One of the reasons I think that it won't happen is because of the age of Myers by the time it does happen, right? Like, if we're to continue off of Halloween 4 and we're going present day, Halloween Ends comes out in 22. So I'm guessing 24 at the earliest. 2024 is when it would happen, which would put Myers at late 60s, early 70s. Is it possible? Yes. I mean, is Myers pure evil? Maybe. So, I mean, he does have like, I think they kind of established in Kills that he does have like super strength. He gets shot multiple times and he just comes back like it's nobody's business. So I could buy that. If they went that route, I could buy that. And really that's the only way they could do it. Like, they couldn't go back and say, let's act like this is 2005. You know, even though Danielle Harris does look really young for her age. Danielle Harris is in her early 40s, I think. She could play a character that's in her early 30s. I mean, hell, in Rob Zombie's Halloween, she was playing a teenager and she was in her 30s. So if they wanted to go back and say, hey, this takes place in 2005, something like that, you know, what is that, 15 years ago? Hell, even 2010. That would give us some wiggle room because then Myers would be in his 50s, I think, somewhere around there. But then again, studios don't usually like to go that route. And they usually like to either go present day or they like to go with a timeline that already happened. It seems like they never want to go in between. Right, guys? So, I don't think... Yeah, Danielle's 44. One. Thank you very much. So, she could easily pass for 30, though, in a movie, I think, if they wanted to go that route. To me, honestly, I think that might be the best route that would kind of please everybody because it wouldn't be annoying. Because you would have people saying Myers is like close to 70 now. Okay? So, I think that's the way I would like them to go. Now, here's number two. Here's reason number two why I think it'll never happen. Jamie Lloyd has a cult fan base. That's a good thing, and that's a bad thing. And I think the answer here that I'm trying to find is dollar signs. It's a risk because you're going to satisfy a niche part of your audience. So you're not going to pull Jamie Lee Curtis numbers probably. Unless the franchise is like at a level at the time. Like, let's just say if Ends is like this freaking amazing movie and a big reason why is because of Michael Myers, which is very possible, then the chance for those dollars are still pretty big without a Jamie Lee Curtis, okay? But I'll never deny that Jamie Lee Curtis is the reason this franchise gets heavy dollars. So I just don't think that it's a risk, and I don't think they'll want to take that risk with a Jamie Lloyd. You know, because also you have Allison who is really young. So they have options, you know. I'm sure they like right now, I guarantee you at Blumhouse, there is a table with a stack of maybe not scripts, but just ideas of what after Halloween ends. You know, we could go this way, we could go this way, or we could go this way. And there's a good chance that Jamie Lloyd's not in any one of those stacks. You know, that's just a sad truth. Just because it's all about dollars. You know, what do people want out of this franchise? You know, it's a checklist. You know, you got to have Michael Myers, you got to have Haddonfield, and you kind of want to reach newer audiences. That's like the number one thing that all studios want to do. If I can bring new fans to an already established franchise, that's the route I'm going for. You know, do I want to take a risk and reach back 30 years for a character that has a very small niche audience who was in movies? I'll even say Halloween 4 does not have a big critic rating at all, but that's not what Halloween is known for. But, you know, that's just another reason why it won't happen. Now, I said there's one reason why it could happen, you know, and this is like a really small shot in the dark. I think the one reason why it could happen is because she does have a fan base. You know, it goes back to what John Carpenter said about remakes. The reason remakes are made is because it's an already built-in marketing system. The Halloween franchise, again, probably the most popular horror franchise, at least today. So why not roll the dice and you know, because there's not people that like hate Jamie Lloyd, right? I mean, are any of you like Jamie Lloyd haters? Like, I can't stand the character, I don't want her in there. I don't think so. I'm sure there's a couple of you, but like, I don't think it's a situation where people would mind it. You know, if you set it up good enough, because the timeline thing, that's out the window. The timeline's already fucked, right? Well, there's no saving the timeline at this point with the Halloween franchise. I mean, hell, Halloween 2018 ignored every sequel except for the first movie, which is kind of weird because they threw in all these Easter eggs of the sequels, which is kind of confusing to newer audiences. I can imagine newer audiences when they went and watched both movies, 2018 and Kills, they were probably like, what is that from and what is that from? You know, like brand new people to the franchise. What is that? They don't know. So it's like winks and nods to the fans. But my money would be no. I don't think it's going to happen. And I'm probably the biggest Jamie Lloyd supporter. You know, I probably make more videos about Jamie Lloyd than most YouTubers. Even though I haven't made that many, I guess. But it's not even like a full video. Like, even when I'm doing DDLives, if I get a chance to mention Jamie Lloyd, I do it. You know? I'm like Venom. What is it? Venom X. I'll just say Venom X. I prefer Jamie Lloyd over Laurie Strode. I do. As a matter of fact, you know, I always like asking you guys questions. Who is your favorite final girl in the Halloween franchise? Are you a Jamie Lloyd fan? Are you a Laurie Strode fan? Are you a Rachel Carruthers fan? You know? Because for me, I value Rachel Carruthers just as much as I do Jamie Lloyd, if I'm being honest. Halloween 4 is so rock solid and stacked with the characters in that movie. And even like Kelly Meeker, like everything that was going on around the characters in that movie was just so solid for me. And I was, you know, like Jamie Lloyd without Rachel Carruthers would not have made it. And maybe that's part of the reason here. Maybe Rachel Carruthers is the problem. If Rachel was never even in the movie, then would that have given Jamie Lloyd more of a chance to stay in the franchise? Because maybe they thought Rachel Carruthers kind of muddies things up. Because it's like you have two final girls in Halloween 4. You know? They have to be, they're together. So, yeah. Rachel was awesome. Awesome. And you could ponder it over it all day. But I tell you what, I am excited about where they're going to go. Because you know they're gonna keep going. If they do an anthology, I'm on board. But bring back my boy Myers, okay? Just bring back, let him rest if you need to. Because James Jude Courtney is big shoes to fill. He's big shoes to fill. And I honestly wouldn't want to take that on. You know? That's like following up Heath Ledger as the Joker. He's that good. So, like, did you guys see that video of him, like, training for the firefighter scene? It's pretty badass.